So when you're designing a website or a web application, usually one of the first things you do is figure out what the navigation is going to be like. You divide your website up into all the content and all the different folders and pages that go in those folders. So we're basically designing the navigation, and it's a really critical piece to a website is how you navigate through it. You guys know that React apps are single page web applications, so they're really just one single web page, but we can make them appear to be like a regular website that has many pages, and that's what we're going to do here. So what we're going to do is we're going to install what's called a router, and this is a package that comes with React. We have to install it separately, and it will allow us to set up navigation for these React apps. And then you'll see once we get this up and running, it doesn't even seem like it's a single page web app when you use this React router. So that's what we're going to do first here. So what we want to do is install this router package. So here, make sure you're in the React sample project folder here and run this command, npm install, and then it's called react-router-dom. Okay, I was just able to fit all of that on one line. Go ahead and run that, and it will go ahead and chug for a moment here. Hopefully it won't take too long. Okay, it's done now. And if you want, you can, when you see this, there could be some security vulnerabilities. If you want, you could run this, the npm audit fix force like that, if you want to try and take care of any security vulnerabilities. So I'll just go ahead and do that. And maybe I'll pause the video. I don't know how long that's going to take. Alrighty, so that took a few minutes, but it finished running. I don't know that you need to do that, but maybe it's a good practice to do it here. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to do is go into the index.js file. Remember, that's kind of like the bootstrap file. It's the file that kicks off the whole entire React app, and maybe you remember this from some of the previous projects that we did, but there's the code right there. It gets a handle on an element in the web page, and it injects our root component into it here. Okay, so here is what we can do now. Remember that by wrapping your root component inside of this React strict mode element, that kind of gives you some debugging advantages. So we're going to leave the React strict mode element there, but what I want to do is wrap the app element, our root component, inside an element like this. It's called browser router, like that. Okay, and then I'm going to take the closing tag and I'm going to put it after the app element. Okay, now this is kind of strange, but this enables the package that we just installed. And if you're wondering what a router is, we'll be talking about it quite a bit from here on out. Okay, so we need to take that step. So make sure you wrap the app element inside of a browser router element. And now we can go ahead and set up routing for this application. So what we often do, now there's different ways to organize React projects, but one recommended way is to take all the components that you create that represent like an individual web page and put them in their own folder. And usually that folder is called pages. So I want you to right click on the source folder and choose new folder and call it pages. Okay, now the difference between the components that go in this folder and the components that go in the components folder is that these components inside the components folder are just parts of a page. But what we put inside of the pages folder is going to be a component that basically represents what appears to be a web page in your React app. You'll see what I mean in a second here. So let's create a page that represents the home page. Right click on the pages folder and choose new file and create a file called homepage with a capital H and a capital P, like that, .js. Okay, and now this is going to look a lot like what we did in our root component, and we're going to have to change our root component to make use of this router, but we'll do that in just a second here. So here I'll go ahead and do the RAFCE thing here. And then what I'm going to do is just remove the div element from the JSX file. Let's put a fragment in there. Whoops. There's my fragment. That's going to contain everything. And then we'll go ahead and put in a header element. Now, hopefully I get the import. The imports aren't working with me today. We're basically repeating what we just did inside of the root component here. I'm going to put a nav bar element. I'll import all of these when I'm done here. I'm going to put a main element. Now that's not a component, or that's not a React component. That's just an HTML main element. It starts with a lowercase letter. But inside of that, we'll put an H1 in there, and let's make this say home page. Okay, underneath the main element, we'll put in our footer component with a capital F. Like that. Okay, now I do need to import all three of those components, the header, the nav, and the footer. You don't need to import React anymore. That used to be required, but it no longer is, so I can delete that line if I want. But I do need to import header from, let's see here. Here I need to go .. / and then into the components folder. And then from there, I can find header. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this line with Alt-Shift-Down arrow. I'm going to do it 2 times. And then just to try and make things go quick here, I'll change the second one to nav bar like that. That means I need to change this over here on that line to nav bar. And then finally footer here. Whoops, capital F footer. And then this side has to be changed to capital F footer. Okay, and now what we've got here is this is a component that's going to represent the home page for our website. Okay, let's just create another component that's going to represent another page. Like most websites have a contact page, so let's create a component in the pages folder and call it contactpage.js. Right click on the pages folder, choose new file, call it contact, capital C, page, capital P.js, like that. And then you can go ahead and do your RAFCE trick again. And now the only difference here, I'm just going to steal some code from the home page to try and speed this up just a little bit. I'm going to take the whole fragment right there, copy that, and I'm going to paste that into the return statement for the contact page. So I'm going to remove the div that's there by default and then paste. And I'm just going to change this H1 element to say contact page. Okay. Now I do need to import the nav bar, the header, and the footer. To do that, I'm just going to steal the import statements from the home page as well. So here we go. I'll just copy those 3 lines and then go back over to the contact page. We don't need to import React anymore. That's implied. So I'll just replace those with those 3 lines. And now what we've got are 2 components that represent pages on our website. I'm going to save those in both files, save everything. I didn't save index.js here. And now at this point, we can go back to the root component, and that's going to look a lot different now. Basically, what the root component is going to be used for now is to set up the routing. So we're going to make some big changes over here to app.js. So this is a little bit strange, but when you're using the React router, and there are different ways to set up the router, but this is the one I like to do. But using this approach, basically your root component basically just defines the routes for your website. So go to the return statement here and wipe out everything. So just delete everything that's inside the return statement. And what we're going to do is add what's a routes element like this. Routes, okay, and there's its closing tag. And we are going to need to import that if it didn't get imported, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. And then what we can put inside of there are route elements. So it's going to be a bunch of route elements that are inside this routes element. So here, what I want to do is add a route that's singular, unlike the one that we just created. And then we can give it a path attribute. Try and explain this as we go here. So this is going to be a path to our home page. So it's just going to be a / like that. That's the value of the path attribute here. And then what we have to do is specify the element that's going to get displayed. So I need to add an element attribute, and there I'm going to set it equal to curly braces like that. And then I'm going to close the route tag there with a / and a greater than sign. Okay, and now this here, there's a few things that we got to deal with here. First of all, the imports are no longer needed because we got rid of those. So I'm going to delete those, but we do need to import this routes and route from React. So up here, I'll go import, and then inside of curly braces, I'll type in routes, comma, route, both capital R's for those, and then from React, like that. And that should take care of the imports. Oh, I'm sorry, it's got to be React dash router DOM, like that. Okay, so this is the package that we installed to do routing, so we have to import from that package. Okay, now that allows us to use the routes element and a route element. Okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add another route. I'm kind of skipping around here, but hopefully this will all make sense in a few minutes here. I'm going to add another route element here, and I'm going to set its path attribute equal to / contact. So this is going to be the route to the contact page, like that. Okay, and then we need to specify the element that gets displayed for that. So I need to add an element attribute, and I'll put the curly braces there, and then I'm going to finish that line off with the / and the greater than sign, like that. Okay, now here, when the path is just a / we want to display the home page element. So what I do right here inside those curly braces is do less than, and then home page, like that, and then / greater than. Okay, now I do need to import the home page component now, so we'll have to do that in just a second here. But before we do, let's set up the route for the contact page. So we need to change that element attribute. We need to set that element attribute to less than contact page, and then / greater than. Okay, now the last thing I need to do here is import the home page and the contact page. So I'm going to go up to the imports, and I'll go import home page. Oh, look at that. I didn't have to type it all, so that was nice. Notice that we put those in the pages folder, so that's the path is using the pages folder. And now I'm going to import the contact page, and I didn't have to type all that either. It detected it for me. Okay, let's go ahead and save changes. Save all the files that you've updated here. So if you have other files that have the white ball there, go ahead and save all those too. And then let's run the app, and we'll see how it behaves here. So npm run start. Looks like I have an error inside saying in index.js browser router is not defined, so that probably means I forgot to import it. So I'm going to go back over to index.js, and sure enough, I'm using a component that I have not imported. So let's fix that right now. To do that, I need to add this import up here like this. Okay. Import, and then a pair of curly braces, and then browser router from React router.dom. Okay, so that's what I forgot to do, is import that when we used it down here inside of index.js. Go ahead and save your changes, and it looks like it worked this time, and here's what we have. So this is what we should see here. Now this is the home page route. If I go here into the URL bar of the browser and type in /contact, then I should see my contact page. Okay, Now, the next step is to add links to the nav bar here so that you don't have to type in the URL. We just want to be able to click on the links to take us to the page here, but you can see how the routing is set up now for us. Okay, so this is an important step to really understand, is how you can use the router to set up routes, and it makes your React app appear to be like many pages. So this looks like we're on the contact page, but if I just remove contact and hit enter, now it looks like I'm on the home page. So it appears that these are different pages. In reality, that's some React magic happening. It's the React router making it appear to be different pages, but we know in reality it's really just a single page web application. So let's go back to VS Code and let's update our navbar component and put links inside of it so that we can navigate to our home page and contact page. So that's in the components folder here. Here it is, navbar, like that. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we can remove the text that says navbar, and then I'm going to split the opening nav and closing nav tags apart like that. And we're going to use another component that came with the router. So what we can do here is put in a less than sign and then type in nav link with a capital N and a capital L. Okay, like that. Now it didn't import for me, so I'm going to have to import that in just a second here. Oh, and by the way, this isn't just a single tag. We want this to actually be an opening and a closing tag like that. Okay, so this requires us to, this is going to be the hyperlink. Now we can't use A tags like you normally would, because remember, in reality, this is a single page web application. If I were to use A tags here, then it would, when people click on the link, it would try to navigate to a different page. But so in React, the router comes with these nav link elements that you use instead of A tags. And it keeps you on the same page, and then it knows to swap out the home page with whatever page you're navigating to. So anyways, these things require a to attribute, and I'm going to set this up as just a /. So that's going to be a link to the home page. And so inside of the opening and closing nav links here, I'm just going to make it say home. Okay, and then the other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate this line, and I'm going to set the to /contact. That's going to be the link to the contact page, and I'm going to change the text inside of there to say contact. Okay, and now I need to import this nav link element. So to do that, I'm going to go up here and go import, and then inside of curly braces I'll type in nav link, and it's importing it from that router package that we installed. Okay, now go ahead and save this and then bounce back over to the browser, and here are our two links right here. So they're squished together. I'll show you how we can fix that in just a second here. But if I click on the contact one, it takes me to the contact page. Now it appears to be a separate page, but that's just some React voodoo stuff happening. We're still using a single page web application here. Check the home link, that works too. One final step right here is I want to show you, we want to put a space in between these two to separate those two links. So I'm going to do this. We're going to put a pair of curly braces right there, and then I can put in quotation marks and then a space in between the quotation marks. Here's how you can put spaces in your markup if you need to. Now this is JSX, but this is how you can put a space in JSX markup. So I'm going to save that and then refresh the page here, and now you can see there's a little bit of separation so that we can see that those are two separate links. Okay, one last thing I want to do here is I want to show you a cool thing you can do with the nav link. A nav link in React is a special kind of link. Now for plain old links, we would just use a link element, not a nav link element, but I want to show you something here. I'm going to hit F12 so I can look at the HTML that gets generated here, and I'm going to go ahead and select the home page route right here. Now this is the actual HTML that gets generated by React. So it actually turns it into an A element, okay? But React knows how to deal with this. The other thing that it does is because we set this up as a nav link, it knows that it's a link inside a nav bar. It will automatically add this class to it. Watch what happens when we go to the contact page. So I'm going to click to go to the contact page, and then I'm going to go ahead and inspect that element right there. Look it, so it set the contact as the active class right there. So this is kind of cool. That's what a nav link does. It knows which one is active. It knows which, anyways, here's what we're going to do with this. Go back to VS Code, and then let's go into the main style sheet, index.css. You can just delete everything in here. So clear out index.css, and let's add an active class. So .active, okay. And then let's just keep things simple. Let's just say the font weight, we'll set that to bold here. Okay, save that and go back over to the browser here. And now because React knows which one the active link is, it knows what page you're on, it will apply that active class to it, and we can style the active ones however we want. I just made it bold, but you could style it in any way that you want. Okay, so here's a quick flyby overview of using routing in React. Very important to know this because as we mentioned in the beginning of the video, you usually start off designing a web application by figuring out what the navigation is going to be like. So that's what we did here. So make sure you understand. You'll probably have lots of questions, but the code that we worked on in this video was really important, and we're going to build upon it in future videos here too. Okay, so that's going to do it for this video.